Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and audience, and brothers and sisters, and dear friends. And hope, of course, you're doing all well. It's me, Muslim Dragon, and we was Skidium, and Jesus the Muslim, JTM. And basically, we're going to continue where we left off, of course, as per usual. And this, now I just told JTM in the background that these next three videos are going to make you both hate me for doing this. Because you're gonna have like some different form of nightmares. I mean, if you feel me, but yeah, this is the I just don't know. Like we thought we've had enough. We just know like they're just gonna come up with like newer stuff. I guess when it comes to these matters in their own like books. But yeah, so you ready, JTM Squid? You guys muted.
Yes. Alaikum. Yes, we're ready. I think.
Right.
Like,
You think you're not confident? All right. Okay. Let's just share the screen then. Here we go. Okay. Pull that here and let me know when you. I shall know from Discord. There you go. And we're playing it.
Before this video begins, I just want to clarify that reincarnation is essentially the belief that after you die, you're going to come back in someone else's body, so your soul is going to be reborn in another person's body. It's essentially the belief that, you'll have a second life and a third life and a fourth life, and, you'll keep coming back in this world with multiple lives, so second life, third life, etc., etc. There are some different ideas, slightly different variants of how people believe it's going to happen, but essentially it's this idea that you'll have a second life, a third life, etc., etc., fourth, fifth, on and on. Assalamu alaikum. The doctrine of reincarnation is an extremely popular belief amongst the pagan religions of the world. Today we see it a lot with Hinduism. They believe, of course, in reincarnation, and reincarnation is a doctrine which is very different to what we get when we look at the traditions of the prophets, who themselves believed not in reincarnation, but rather in a resurrection of the dead at the end of times. Now, Jews claim to be the followers of the prophets, but they ended up adopting the doctrine of reincarnation from the pagans. So we find traditionally some authors, some rabbinic scholars, rabbis I should say, mentioned the belief in reincarnation, and we see it explicitly stated within the Kabbalah. So
Kabbalah.
The foundational text of Kabbalah is the Zohar. As you can see here, it is the foundational work in the literature of Jewish mystical thought known as Kabbalah. So it is the main text of the Kabbalah, and Kabbalah is considered by Jews to be a part of the oral Torah, which was transmitted to Moses at Sinai, as they claim, or at least that is their claim. So here you can see, for example, Aish.com mentions that Kabbalah is oral Torah. So as they say here, Moses himself received the oral tradition from God himself at Sinai, which was called Kabbalah. So a part of the oral Torah, according to them, was Kabbalah. And as I showed you initially, the foundational text in the literature of Jewish mystical thought, known as Kabbalah, is what? The Zohar, right? This is written under the Zohar.
Okay, let me just pause and go back. So something that actually piqued my interest was the definition of Kabbalah. If we're gonna go by this here, means the receiving, and it reminds me because it says this means receiving. It reminds me of a lot of like the word taqabbul. So it's like, so it's really interesting, like how that's related to that. But yeah, so far we haven't looked into evidences that much. But so far, what are your thoughts and opinions?
I mean, so far there isn't much to say. Yeah. What this does remind me of, this Jew two Jews that came to Shahada mission. They were criticizing our isnad, and we asked them for their isnad. They claim they have a better one. They never showed it. So I'm really curious how this oral Torah was transmitted through their isnad, which is apparently better than ours. So yeah.
I mean, honestly, like, this is the thing. Like, the reason why we just don't trust it, because they may have transmitted a already edited version of the Torah. Okay, that one though, like, again, we can't even trust either. But at the same time, when they're gonna change their own words and sayings, and when they're gonna transmit something else that is as much contrary as to what they originally had, how we to give them the benefit of the doubt at this point. So let's just see this. Let's just see how things go here from here.
Written under Zohar. So here we see another Jewish website confirming Zohar is oral Torah, as they write in their article, The Zohar's Mysterious Origins. Jewish mystical teachings were always an integral part of the oral law and were transmitted together with the rest of the oral law by Moses to Joshua, etc., etc. So they believe the Zohar and the Kabbalah, of course, again, Kabbalah being the foundational text of the Zohar, is oral Torah that God revealed to Moses at Sinai. Here's a popular Rabbi Tovia Singer, confirming the belief in the Zohar and Kabbalah for anyone who doubts it. So here is a video from him about that if you want to check it out. Wikipedia writes, under reincarnation, reincarnation is a central tenet of the Indian religions, namely Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and Sikhism, and most varieties of paganism.
Mm-hmm.
So reincarnation is a central tenet of the Indian religions, as well as most varieties of paganism. So it is a very pagan belief system, yet it finds its way into Judaism, which claims to be following the prophets, whereas in reality it is not. Here's what the Zohar writes. So this is the Pritzker edition, volume 4 in the PDF. It's page 282. Fourth figure. This is the figure of a person constantly poised to be mended for mystery of the past. This one appears in the sight of the wise-hearted in the image of an eagle. That spirit of his is a weak spirit. This one does not display protruding letters on his face, since these vanished from him, sinking at another time previously withdrawn from him, so they do not protrude. Of course, this is Zohar, so it's a very mystical text. It's hard to follow in that sense. You really have to know what's going on to get what's being said here, right? It continues by saying, okay, how can you identify these people? His eyes do not sparkle when he is joyful, nor when he cuts the hair on his head and trims his beard, etc., etc. So, of course, because the Zohar is so mystical and it was written in the sort of mystical language that's difficult to understand, it was sort of written as a code that you had to sort of decipher. Let's just go straight to the commentary to see what this means. As Daniel C. Matt writes in the footnote, commentary, to poise to be mended for mystery of the past, this means that this person, so the Zohar is discussing certain persons, and it mentions this type of person, and it says this person has been reincarnated to mend his misdeeds in an earlier lifetime. His spirit is weakened, and no letters appear on his face, having vanished previously. His face assumes the form of an eagle's face, visible only to the eyes of the wise. Then he mentions on reincarnation in Kabbalah. See Bahir 135, 195, Zohar 1, 131a, 186b, 293, 239a, 291b, 94b through 1148, Hasim 37a, 8, 1a2b, etc. So you can see here a bunch of other references are listed. The point is there are many references to reincarnation, the belief of reincarnation in the Zohar and in the Kabbalah.
It's craziness.
And then
it really is. Like it's like they're taking these. It's like they're taking inspiration from the wrong people. I mean, granted, we already knew that ever since they learned magic, but it's still like.
I remember one of the first videos that we did together about this playlist. I remember saying like, this is Hinduism. I remember saying in one of the early videos, like 7 months ago or whatever. Yeah, and it's like, it's just adding on to it. Yeah,
it's like they're taking like a piece from like every religion they can find around the world and putting it into one. And we now have the amalgamation that we have today.
So they say the footnotes for 124, 125. His secret, how he can be recognized. So since no letters appear on his face, and we see therefore the secret mentioned, his eyes do not sparkle when he is joyful, nor when he cuts the hair on his head and trims his beard. So this is how you identify who is a person who's been reincarnated. 125 mentions, I praise the dead. It's at the end here. The mystery of this one, I praise the dead who have already died more than the living who are still alive. As for seed of David, the secret of the Lord is for those who revere him. To them he reveals his covenant. So under 125, Daniel Matt comments, I praise the dead, apparently understood to mean I praise the dead who have already died and have no need of further reincarnation more than the living who are still alive in reincarnated form. So reincarnation being mentioned. Here's another reference in the Zohar, and we'll get to some websites which confirm this, etc. in a moment. Further, she bore him Phinehas. These were the heads. Loss of the heads of the Levites was found in him. Whereas they diminished and were burned, he fulfilled, gaining their priesthood. Both of their potfuls were contained within him. Loss of the heads of the Levites was found in him. Who are they? Nadab and Abihu. They separated the sign of covenant from its place, and he came and united them. Therefore, the inheritance of both of them was given to him. Here is mentioned what would happen later. So again, this is also in volume 4. On the PDF, it's page 81. As you can see here, the footnote for this is 103. So this is the commentary. And at the top, you can see this is from volume 4 of the Pritzker edition. Daniel C. Matt writes, what is the meaning of loss of the heads of the Levites? According to this alternative interpretation, the plural expression, these are the heads, refers to two prominent Levitical priests and sons of Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, who were later killed by divine fire because they brought forward alien fire before the Lord. According to Rabbi Aha, their improper cultic act diminished or ruined the union of the divine couple, separating Yesod from Shekhinah.
Okay. I just read alien because they meant by alien at the time something that is outside of the origin of the actual place. Never mind. Okay, we continue.
Wandering souls, however, were reincarnated or impregnated in their nephew
so foreign, basically,
fueling his zeal at Shittim. So their loss was recovered in him. He reunited the divine couple and inherited the priesthood of Aaron's two sons. So you see here the mention that their wandering souls, however, were reincarnated in their nephew Phinehas. So
what?
Reincarnation being discussed casually in the Zohar.
So wait, more than one soul can reincarnate within a single body? Okay.
It is disgusting to hear all of this. Yeah.
I know.
I gotta,
Shouldn't have brought my ears. Shouldn't have brought in food.
I feel like after hearing all of this, I gotta do wudu,
Oh,
so that's
so not just wudu, you're gonna have to ghusl.
Oh yeah.
In time today. Yeah.
It's Friday. Yeah, because today our recording is Friday. That's why. But yeah, oh my God, let's just move on. What is this?
So then Daniel C. Matt, again, volume 4, page 553, gives some other references. He says, on childlessness and reincarnation, see volume 3, page 137, number 331. On the reincarnation of Nadab and Abihu's soul in Phinehas, see Zohar 357, 8 to B, 61b, 213 A to B, 217a. So this is also where it's mentioned that they were reincarnated in Phinehas. One of the passages we just read was this, but there are many other passages which prove this, which is why Daniel C. Matt obviously explains it like this, right? Because that is what it means. On this particular type of usually temporary reincarnation known as Ibor, impregnation, see Sholem Kabbalah 348 to 49, on Phinehas inheriting. Okay, so point here is he gives us some more references from which we can check the Kabbalah believing in reincarnation. Michael Hoffman writes on page 242, Judaism Discovered.
Oh, Lord,
he quotes Shulchan Aruch Haran, Tilchos, Talmud, Torah 1:4. So, of course, I'm butchering the Hebrew most likely, but you see here it's mentioned that the sages of the true wisdom teach that every Jewish soul must reincarnate many times until it has fulfilled all the 613 mitzvos in action, speech, and thought. The 613 mitzvahs are the 613 commandments they believe they have to keep.
Allah.
Jews are reincarnated over and over again.
613?
Yeah, I remember this this Jew that came in earlier. Yeah, he mentioned this, like the 613 laws. But he never told me you get reincarnated over and over again.
600. No. Okay, reincarnation once, twice. 613?
I mean, even once is bad enough for like a quote unquote monotheist religion.
The reason. I think he's got to touch up on this, but the reason why we say that we're going against reincarnation, because not only is it injustice, but it's also torture. Like, you'd have to relive, this, imperfect, transient, like, worst of the worst kind of landscape over and over again. And it gets worse and worse and worse. And then you keep reincarnating to this area. And according to them, 613 times. So what? People live for 613 lifetimes, according to like whoever gets to live for 613 times. If that's even the limit, apparently I don't think that's the limit either. Because again, it's really something else. And the reason why it's injustice is because you know how first of all, God made a promise that everyone's gonna come, and be judged. And those who, obeyed and believed, they enter heaven. And those who disobeyed and disbelieved will enter hellfire, of course. And, the intricacies and whatnot, these are already, mentioned. If not, you could just, go and learn them yourself at school and stuff. But the thing is, this not only, like, that is breaking a promise, which, God is beyond such things, wa'yadu billah. And this is also, just because it goes against the idea of that, there is a judgment day where people will be judged for their actions. So them being reincarnated over and over again, and whether or not they keep their memories or they lose them, or be affected by, when they're born again by something or some sort of action that they made before, it doesn't really grant the people who were affected by such injustice from the actual person who gets reincarnated any form of like compensation. It's just yeah, he's back again, whether or not he has his memories or not, he's just back again, he's back at it. It's like, it just defeats the purpose, it defeats the purpose of like, this whole entire ultimate exam. But, yeah, you want to say something?
No, I mean, it's just deviant. Like, the thought of reincarnation is deviant to begin with, because nobody thinks of Judaism, Islam, Christianity when, this concept of reincarnation gets brought up. Everyone thinks of like, pagan and, polytheistic religions, because they're the ones that kind of have this, sealed onto their religion, this idea of reincarnation. So to, get this from Judaism, it's like, come on, man.
I mean, the reason why they think that because it's a more of a, from the outside perspective, from the general, like, average person, it's like more of a theme, like they'll notice a theme, but they wouldn't really understand, like, they wouldn't have, like we say in Arabic, ta'ammuq, or in being a bit more in depth with regards to why, monotheistic religions don't have reincarnation whilst pagan religions have. They may not reach that level, so that's why you would get that, feeling though, oh, paganism, they probably have reincarnation. Monotheistic religions, they probably don't. It's just kind of like a theme thing, but ultimately, if they were to go in depth like we do and like we're doing now, right now, yeah, it gets really becomes more clear. But with regards to Judaism, I don't know what's clear anymore, man. Let's just see when we move on. Let's see what happens.
Until they can fulfill all the commandments. Of course, this is very famous in Hinduism and these types of beliefs. Chabad.org writes under Judaism and reincarnation. Kabbalah on Judaism and reincarnation. The Holy Ari explained, and again, this is a Jewish website, they explained, the Holy Ari explained it most simply. Every Jew must fulfill all 613 mitzvot, and if he doesn't succeed in one lifetime, he comes back again and again until he finishes. For this reason, events in a person's life may lead him towards certain places, encounters, etc. in ways that may or may not make sense. Divine Providence provides each person with the opportunities he needs to fulfill those particular mitzvot necessary for the perfection of his soul. But the responsibility lies with us. At the actual moment of decision...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, how does this make sense? Okay, so he has to fulfill 613, but he doesn't succeed in a lifetime. When he comes back, after being reincarnated, he's not gonna remember if he fulfilled them or not in the past life. He's a completely different person. So how is he gonna know? Oh, I fulfilled 400. Let me just do like 513 more. Sorry,
Assuming
213.
that's assuming he loses his memory.
Yeah, but what's the evidence that they didn't?
What's the evidence
Which
that
Jew?
the better question
Yeah.
is what's the evidence that it actually is going on? Like that's what's actually happening. Because this is really
Because then you would have like floods of Jews going like, oh, this was my past life. Right now I'm on my like 512. You know,
It's like
but
a
you don't see
streak.
that.
Yeah, no.
Like, yeah,
I mean,
especially the Jews these days. I mean, most of them they don't even practice. They're very like secularized.
like I said, I mean that also comes down to the fact, like I said before, cute Jews don't know about this, but still, it's no, like this is, come on.
In any given situation, the choice is ours. So there's a Jewish website confirming that as well. So we saw it in the Zohar. We saw it quoted, a reference being quoted by Michael Hoffman of a rabbi explaining it. We saw it in Chabad.org. And also Chabad writes that Ramban, one of the greatest commentators on the Torah, this is Ramban, not Rambam, it's Ramban.
Oh, and that's something else. Okay, there's a little difference then.
He hints several times that reincarnation is the key to penetrating the deep mysteries involved in the mitzvah of Yibum, the obligation of the brother of a childless deceased man to marry the widow. In his explanation of Genesis 38:8, he insists that Yehuda and his sons were aware of the secret reincarnation and that this was a major factor in their respective attitudes towards Tamar. And there are many other rabbis who mentioned reincarnation as well.
And that's a lie towards the potential prophet.
Why is it a secret?
I don't know. that's and how is it a secret when now it's known? Like, is it a secret anymore?
Yeah, I guess so. Because not your average Jew wouldn't probably like know about this.
No,
Do
it's
they
not
even
just
read the Zohar?
No. It's not just that. Is that like how can you say it's a secret when you already when you now know what it is? So it wasn't really a secret. They either now what they're saying is either they failed to keep the secret a secret, or they they wrote it somewhere and they hid it until they're passing, and then they realized it afterwards. So it's not in both cases. It's not a secret anymore. So why are you calling it a secret? It's like, I don't know, man. But still, they're making stuff up. They're making stuff.
It's
up.
an excuse. Yeah, it's an excuse.
Yeah, it's no. Let's move on.
But here, Ramban, one of the greatest commentators, is confirming that. Gilgul, Wikipedia writes under it.
No, please.
Topic Gilgul. In Kabbalistic interpretation, each Jewish soul is reincarnated enough times only in order to fulfill each of the 613 mitzvot, or commandments. Aish.com writes under Why Reincarnation by Rabbi Pinchas Whiston. I guess I might be butchering the name. So yes, reincarnation is a Jewish concept with a very long Jewish tradition.
But go back to why. Let's see what he has to say.
Yeah, why? Where?
Let's see what he has to say. Okay, fine. We'll probably look at it after this video.
He established that reincarnation is a part of Judaism, and in the Kabbalah, the reincarnation is in many forms. One of the forms being you're reincarnated over and over and over again. A Jew is reincarnated over and over and over again, brought to life over and over and over again, until they can fulfill their commandments, all 613 commandments. Now, let's go here. Britannica, the Encyclopedia of Britannica writes, in Hinduism, the process of birth and rebirth, which is what reincarnation is, i.e. transmigration of souls, is endless until one achieves moksha, or liberation, I should say. Moksha, or liberation, which literally means release from that process. Moksha is achieved when one realizes that the eternal core of the individual Atman and the absolute reality Brahman are one. So in Hinduism as well, you're reincarnated over and over and over again until you gain perfection.
Ooh. I'm speechless. I am. I've been speechless before, but It's what is this? Copy paste? What are this thing there?
Did the Jews perhaps, like, did the Israelites at one point in time like do trades with the Indians?
I mean, we do
And
have.
then-
I mean, apparently, according to conspiracy theorists, the very first actor in India was a Jewish Hindu. So
Jewish Hindu.
I don't ask me. Like I guess, but they mean Hindu. I think they mean like Indian, but it's
Ethnically Jewish, but Hindu with faith.
or maybe Indian with Jewish faith. I don't know either. Like that's I've, you know what I've. This is copy paste of what we've seen from the very beginning. This is literally copy paste of what we've seen from the very beginning. It's just they just changed it. Another thing about reincarnation is, tell me if people misunderstood the whole idea of the multiple lives that people have. So apparently there's like the spirit, the life of being a spirit, and the life in the womb, and then our life, the dunya, and then the akhirah. Maybe people misunderstood those four and decided to make this stuff up. Because this is the thing that I do usually, is try to understand, like, how did people misunderstand what they were taught since the beginning? How did their language, like, as they evolved, change so much that it resulted to this, I'm sorry to say, monstrosity? Like, how did that happen? And and so far, I think for reasons that may have been, from his, most merciful, most gracious, I have not yet attained the reasons and hows. Only I keep asking whys. But yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I've seen in some days ago that actually the Jews went to India, or like I don't know. I just don't remember. There was something, they had a link with them, like maybe after the destruction of the first temple or something, but I'm not sure.
Let's just move on, man. We gotta finish this.
Which is what we find in the Kabbalah as well. Very different from the tradition of the prophets. Many times in the Bible, it's also mentioned that reincarnation does not exist. Psalm 78, yet he was merciful, he forgave their iniquities and did not destroy them. Time after time he restrained his anger, and he did not stir up his full wrath. He remembered that they were but flesh, a passing breeze that does not return. So human beings are what? They're just flesh, a passing breeze, meaning a short life that does not return. So once you die, that's it. You're not returning. That's what the Psalms say.
You move on. Yeah.
Job 7:9, as a cloud vanishes and is gone, so one who goes down to the grave does not return. There is no such thing as reincarnation, according to Tanakh. Allah said in the Quran, حتى إذا جاء أحدهم الموت قال رب ارجعون. When death approaches any of them, they cry, my Lord, let me go back. لعلي أعمل صالحا فيما تركت كلا إنها كلمة هو قائلها ومن ورائهم برزخ إلى يوم يبعثون. So I may do good in what I left behind. Never! It is only a useless appeal they make, and there is a barrier behind them until the day they are resurrected.
This is the justice I was talking about. Because had that happened, that's not only breaking a promise, but that's also injustice. So this is what I was referring to right here. And
yeah.
Yeah.
فإذا نفخ في الصور فلا أنسى بينهم يومئذ ولا يتساءلون. Then when the trumpet will be blown, there will be no kinship between them on that day, nor will they even care to ask about one another. So there is no reincarnation, rather there is resurrection.
Exactly.
فَمَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ فَأُولَئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. As for those whose scale is heavy with good deeds, it is they who will be successful. وَمَنْ خَفَّتْ مَوَازِينُهُ فَأُولَئِكَ الَّذِينَ خَسِرُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ فِي جَهَنَّمَ خَالِدُونَ. But those whose scale is light, they will have doomed themselves, staying in hell forever. So once you die, that's it. You're not going to have a second chance to come and have a do-over at this life, and this time try and be righteous. When you die, that's it. You're not coming back. There's no second chance for you to become righteous this time. Your deeds are set, they're sealed, and then you're gonna face judgment in front of God, and perhaps He will pardon you if you believed. And if you did not, then you will have a humiliating punishment, and there will be no way for you to come back and try at life again, that maybe this time you'll be righteous. There's no such a thing. There's just one chance. You got one chance. There's no such thing as, oh, let me try again, and this time I'll keep the commandments. No, it's one and done.
Before we go to the next video, let's just, let me just go find that video. Let's go find that article.
Oh, there's another one. Okay.
Yeah, there's two more, but let me just go find that article. You guys talk about what you saw so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a clear contradiction, even theologically. He quoted Psalms, I think Jeremiah, was it? I'm not sure, but at the end. But yeah, it contradicts the Zohar. The Zohar contradicts the Psalms and, the Old Testament, the Tanakh. So I'm really curious how like a Jew would respond to this.
Me as well.
Maybe we can try searching that up. Like maybe there's some forum where people ask, "Hey, why is there reincarnation in the Zohar?" And then Psalms says something else.
What Reddit r/Judaism or Stack Exchange Judaism, like
some sort of ask Jews or ask Judaism, like whatever, some sort of Jewish website where it's like
Quora. Just kidding.
Quora.
No. Like Quora's a bad idea. Don't use it. Here, I found the article. Basically, let's see. Why reincarnation? So this is like a bit of a detour. So exploring the mystical underpinnings of this misunderstood concept by Rabbi Pinchas Winston. The topic of reincarnation sparks many questions and strong reactions. Sometimes the question is simply, is reincarnation really a Jewish concept? For many, reincarnation seems to be an idea that belongs to other religions, particularly those from the East, not Judaism. One reason for this is because you do not see the idea of reincarnation showing up in the many mainstream Torah texts over the generations, such that, okay, Talmud, there you go. That's something I'm familiar with. There you go. One would think that if reincarnation is such a mainstream Jewish concept, there would be at least a few references to it in such sources and others like them. Then again, unlike other religions, Judaism prefers not to mix everyday topics together with more mystical elements. You don't say! Though Kabbalah is as mainstream as any other area of Torah knowledge. Even alluded to in the Talmud, in Haggai, I think it's called, it is as helpful to introduce Kabbalah in everyday Torah learning as it is to discuss details of quantum theory with 9th grade physics students. Hold on, I'll be right back.
Oh man, but yeah, I thought about the prophet Jeremiah. You know what he said? What's said in Jeremiah 8:8, where it says, sorry, I'm just bringing it. So it says, "How can you say we are wise and the law of the Lord is with us? But behold, the lying pen of the scribes has made it into a lie." So that's when I watched the video, with you guys, I thought about this verse because it's literally like the scribes, making their own, like, the scribes and whatever rabbi, they made their own, like, beliefs, reincarnations and whatever,
Yeah, I remember even last video or the video before or the last video, I remember quoting Jeremiah 8:8 as well because and on top of that, how the Quran says they took their rabbis and priests, gods besides Allah, and then it's so clear. Even like you don't even need the Quran; you just pick up the Tanakh and then you pick up the Zohar, and then it's pretty clear.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's even amazing. Like, it's even more amazing, to find those types of verses in the Bible, So in their Tanakh, so that's actually interesting.
All right, so I guess we found it. So I like how this guy compares reincarnation to students going from one level to another. As one matures, he becomes more intelligent. Like how Like what? I mean, it's
Like
comprised.
there,
Apparently, the soul is comprised of like 5 parts. These 5 parts: rest, spirit, breath, life, and single. Single? Okay, sure. And then a good analogy is a computer software. He keeps using analogies like this. They're using analogies like they try to like, justify things using analogies that at the end of the day doesn't really exactly help.
correlate with yeah. It reminds me of the analogy that they use for the Trinity. You know, the water. You know,
Yeah,
the
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 solid
ice.
water,
Yeah.
It's
liquid.
all
Yes.
about the journey. What journey? Like what? What? No, sorry. What journey? Like if this is. Oh yeah, I forgot. They believe in a warped understanding of the story of Adam. And they said yeah, this is. Ooh. You should probably do a video only on this article alone. But yeah, like this is. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just
Just,
skim
like,
reading
go
it.
over
It's just horrible. I'm just skim reading this. This is just.
Yeah, I mean, if we do like an in-depth video on this specifically, like
We could, yeah.
we'll gather some verses from the Tanakh,
Mm.
some commentaries as well, and then yeah, we'll refute the whole thing just by a couple verses that's explicitly saying that there's no, reincarnation.
But I mean, there have been cases where we've seen before that their verses explicitly say one thing, but then these guys are like, nah, it's whatever, it means something else, or it's Torah that they must learn. So it's like I don't even know anymore. Also, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but because of situations that's going on with me, we're going to have to change this into possibly 2 or 3 parts. So this is part 1, and the next video will be part 2, and then if there's another one, there'll be part 3. So yeah, sorry folks, but we'll see you of course in the next part. So yeah, catch you guys in the next part. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.